After saying goodnight, she walks into her bedroom, undresses, then climbs into bed. As she starts to doze off, she felt the bed move as if someone had shoved it with all their might. She quickly jumps down and looks underneath the bed to realize no one was there.
It happened when I went to visit my family in Osaka. I was in my uncle's garden when I noticed a woman with long black hair staring at me from the 7-foot-tall hedge. I dismissed it for years, until one night, I woke up and saw the 8-foot-tall woman staring down at me. I always wondered why Grandma never looked a day over 40. I eventually found out her secret when I lived with her last winter. I woke up one night and saw my grandma peeling the skin off someone in her kitchen. Tell me, Master, do you know the difference between man and machine? He stood over the sleeping man in the darkness. The only difference is that you bleed and I don't, replied the android as he pulled the trigger. The man grew tired of the persistent knocks on the door. He was trying to get his work done. It was a pizza man, which came to his surprise, but not that it mattered. What a shame, said the man as he looked at the dead woman in the apartment. You didn't even get to have your last meal. The paranoia set in this early. That's how Sam knew tonight would differ from those that came before. He knew, however, that this premonition would offer him little comfort on this night. No, quite the opposite. His stalker, or whatever you might call it, always got bored of the game eventually. To his surprise, his dismay seemed to mingle with relief. Perhaps he too was just as tired of this game. It was a rainy day. A hard rain. The type that would wash away your presence. I picked up my dismembered arm as I finally dug out of the grave. He'd spent months building this monolith in his mind, a dam of sorts to hold back the hordes of terrors that lay dormant in his psyche. Like a siren, it called to him to scratch at the cracks within its foundations, and finally, it gave way. What he faced now was beyond reason, rational, or logic. He faces his true self. The man looked up from his camera and congratulated the model after a long day of shooting. Great job, Cassandra. I can't wait for our next photo set. He slowly stood up, grabbed the model by the waist, and then put her in the closet with the rest of his taxidermied girls. I took the last midnight train home, but something didn't feel right. As it made its way to the center of the bridge, the train stopped and the doors slid open. The only thing I remember were people jumping out as the train said, "Last stop." I love goldfish, especially the ones with swollen cheeks, yellow scales, and bulging eyes. Perhaps you're wondering why I started collecting so many. The man turned on the final fish tank to reveal a human head staring back at him. I took my date fishing one weekend, but it all went wrong when she reeled in the corpse of a dead woman. Little did she know was that the woman in the river was my ex, and that she too would share the same fate.
The stranded man continued to feast on the body of his once-living friend. To survive, he paid the price with the only thing he had left, his humanity. Now, he was a Wendigo.
I slowly walked towards the fridge at 1 a.m. and helped myself to some orange juice, straight from the carton. Then I heard the sound of someone entering the house. I swiftly climbed back into the attic before the homeowners noticed me. I've seen the man, the one who's been taking people in their sleep. Where have I seen him, might you ask? Well, I'm staring at him now, in the mirror. Hey, did you hear about the man who went missing on the news? What are you talking about, dude? The man continued to stare at the static on his TV and whispered, "He will be, soon enough." Sam kept running, as his pursuers grew closer by the second. Amidst the adrenaline, a thought came upon him, and panic began to harvest in his mind. He was running down an endless flight of stairs. Mom, why does the monster from under the bed keep hurting me? She wiped the tears from her child's eyes. Sweetie, there's no monster. Her greatest fear came back to haunt her when she checked under the bed and saw her ex-husband. Leon gleefully signed the lease to his new home. The landlord, who looked youthful yet old, smiled and gave the key to his new tenant. Little did Leon know was that he was moving into the doorway to hell itself. It's been weeks since I've last eaten, and I'm getting desperate. These very walls we lived in were just as much a prison as they were a home. As I reached for the food on the wooden table, a metal bar came swooping down on me. The nurse walked into the incubator room to retrieve and return a child to their eager family. She stood there, in disgust of all the little devils, and searched for newborn Jasmine. A sudden thought came over her, and she decided to grab a different child. I went hiking last summer with my friends and ran into a lovely couple on our trail. We offered them to camp with us, but the couple declined as they were on their honeymoon and wanted some much-needed alone time. Chills went down my spine as they walked away, and the woman mouthed the words, "Help me." I continued to walk down the dark hallway until a shadowy figure walked around the corner. I jumped and instantly took off my VR headset. I was paralyzed in fear when I realized that the Shadow Man was now standing in my living room. I was running out of daylight. I needed to get this fire going, and fast. It got colder by the second, and the amber sky rolled down like a carpet into a shadowy abyss. As I looked up from my fire, I saw it watching me from behind the trees, and I knew then that my time was up. I lay in my bed, frozen and unable to move. My chest became heavy, as if someone was sitting on it. I looked up at the ceiling to see the Owl Man staring at me. She gazed up at the velvet sky, knowing she would never feel discomfort or see the stars this way again. As a witness, her eyes did not belong to her anymore. These restless souls would show her what she had to see. I was in my room one day, sitting on the floor, drawing, and it was as if something walked behind me. It blocked out the overhead light, yet when I tried to see what it was, it kept running out of my direct sight, so I only caught glimpses. Years later, I found it was the Phantom Hat Man. Storms always took her back to that night on the beach. It was when his ghost walked up from the depths.
Last night I invited my friends over for dinner. They continued to drink the bottle of wine as my daughter set up the table. After a few minutes, they fell to the floor, and it was then that we began to prepare for the feast.
You never know what you'll find when exploring abandoned places. Last summer, I went to the old hospital where I was born, and it'll be the last time I ever go there. I learned the true circumstances of my birth, and I can't accept the fact that I have the devil inside me. Listen, child. Do you hear it? It is a sign for the end of times. Blood began to rain down from the skies, and then the first trumpet sounded. Manila, March 15th, 1945. Do you not remember me, old friend? David lay on his bed, paralyzed in fear of the mysterious man, and whispered, "Who are you?" "I am whom your eyes never wished to see again. I am death." I wasn't always afraid of clowns, but that all changed when I was at a friend's birthday party many years ago. I was playing hide and seek with my friends, but one of them was never found. A year later, I found out that Buggy the Clown, the one at my friend's party, was responsible for the disappearance of over 15 little boys. What's wrong with my lifestyle? I don't hate or judge anyone for eating animals. I eat vegan for the most part, with an exceptional delicacy of mine. There's a saying that you are what you eat. Perhaps that is why I've acquired the taste for human flesh.
As I locked my son and I in the garage, I knew we would be safe from the rotting corpses roaming the street. I grabbed my son and pulled him into a hug, knowing that at least I had him and we were going to be okay. That thought was interrupted when I felt my son's teeth tear through the flesh in my throat.
Hi everyone, Mad Chatter here. I'd like to thank fellow YouTubers FantasiesOfFright, Tales to Chill to the Bone, Creepy Clown Girl, Promethean Dude, and Mandie Mortem for helping me out with this video. I highly advise you check out their channels and subscribe. A lot of my good friends in my personal life and horror family came together to make this video, so thank you to everyone who sent me their stories. I'd really love to do a part 2 in the future, so feel free to send me some 3-sentence horror of your own. Info is in the description. Again, thanks for watching, be sure to like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Bye for now, and remember, when all goes wrong in the night and everything's the matter, you'll be sure to hear of it from the Mad Chatter.